The flower shouldn't have survived the crash. Noah Mercer knew this as he dragged himself from the wreckage, his fingers closing around the last surviving specimen from Earth. A single red rose, its petals glowing unnaturally bright against the monochrome wasteland. The gray trees stood frozen. The ashen sky hung heavy, and the silver-eyed woman, now staring at him with galaxy-filled eyes, looked at the bloom like it was both a miracle and an abomination. "You bring death," she whispered, reaching for the flower with trembling fingers. Then the ground shook, not from the crash, but from the approaching storm of faceless guardians, their featureless mass reflecting the rose's crimson glow with something like fear. Please wait. Before we start, tap that card in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Also, you can check the Alien Paradox playlist for more exciting stories. There's a question hidden in the pinned comment below. Crack the code by watching the complete story and answer the question. Alright, let's dive into the story. The crash should have killed him. Noah Mercer knew this as he dragged himself from the wreckage of his research vessel, his lungs burning with every breath. The impact had shattered the ship's hull, scattering debris across an alien landscape that looked like an old black and white photograph. Gray trees stretched toward a gray sky, their leafless branches clawing at the air like skeletal fingers. Even the soil beneath his boots was colorless, a fine, ashen powder that crunched with each step. "Perfect," Noah muttered, wiping blood from his forehead. Stranded on the most depressing planet in the universe. His survival training kicked in. Oxygen levels breathable. Temperature mild. Threats none visible. Supplies limited. He patted his torn flight suit, fingers closing around the specimen case clipped to his belt. The reinforced glass was cracked but intact, revealing the last surviving plant from Earth's greenhouse lab. A single red rosebud, its petals still tightly closed. A twig snapped behind him. Noah spun around, nearly dropping the case. 20 feet away stood a figure, tall, slender, and unmistakably female. Her skin shimmered like liquid mercury, catching what little light filtered through the gray clouds. The sleek black bodysuit she wore clung to her form, accentuating curves that were disturbingly human yet utterly alien. Her eyes were the most striking feature, pools of swirling silver that seemed to contain entire galaxies within their depths. "You are damaged," she observed. Her voice carried an eerie musical quality, like wind chimes made of ice. Noah instinctively tightened his grip on the rose case. "Just scratches." What are you?" She tilted her head, studying him with unsettling intensity. "This world has no name in your tongue." "I am Vera." When she stepped closer, Noah noticed her movements were unnaturally fluid, as if gravity affected her differently. Her nostrils flared slightly as her gaze locked onto the specimen case. "That," she said, pointing with a slender finger, "is forbidden here." Noah frowned. "It's just a flower." Vera reached out, then hesitated, her hand hovering inches from the glass. Something like hunger flashed across her alien features. "Just a flower," she repeated softly, as if testing the words. Then, with unexpected urgency, "Show me." Against his better judgment, Noah popped the seal. The moment the rose met open air, something miraculous happened. The gray light caught its crimson petals, casting a faint red glow across Vera's silver cheeks. Her mercury eyes widened, and for the first time, held color. A gasp escaped her lips. The ground trembled violently. Vera's head snapped up, her expression shifting to alarm. They felt that. She grabbed Noah's wrist with surprising strength. "Gulme." Now, Noah barely had time to secure the rose before she yanked him into the gray forest. Behind them, a mechanical hum rose in the distance. Not engines, but something far less familiar. Vera's grip tightened as they ran. "If they catch you with that, we're both dead." The rose's reflection danced in her eyes, tiny flecks of crimson in a world of gray. Noah's lungs burned as they sprinted through the monochrome forest, the mechanical hum growing louder behind them. Vera moved with unnatural grace, her silver form weaving between the gray trees as if they weren't obstacles at all. Who exactly is chasing us? Noah gasped, nearly tripping over a root that blended perfectly with the ashen ground. The gray shades, Vera answered without slowing. Our protectors. A pulse of energy crackled past Noah's ear, scorching a tree trunk inches from his face. He risked a glance back. 3 figures in flowing gray robes floated above the ground, their featureless silver masks reflecting the dull sky. Their hands crackled with the same energy that had nearly vaporized his head. "Protector's my ass," Noah muttered, tightening his grip on the rose case. Vera suddenly yanked him behind a boulder. Her mercury eyes darted to the specimen case. They're drawn to that. They can sense its disruption. Noah looked down at the rose, its crimson petals vibrant against the sterile gray surroundings. "It's just a flower. To you." Vera's fingers twitched toward the case, but didn't touch it. "To us, it's..." She struggled for words, her alien features twisting in frustration. Like seeing the sun after lifetimes of darkness. Another energy pulse shattered part of their hiding spot. Vera grabbed Noah's face, forcing him to meet her swirling silver gaze. "Let me hold it." "Why?" "So your friends can, not them." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Me. Just for a moment." The desperate longing in her eyes made Noah's throat tighten. Against every survival instinct, he popped the case open. Vera's breath hitched as she gently lifted the rose. The moment her silver fingers made contact, something miraculous happened. The crimson color seeped into her skin, traveling up her fingers like liquid. Her eyes widened as the pigment reached her wrist, swirling patterns of pink and gold appearing in her mercury irises. "You're changing," Noah breathed. A shudder ran through Vera's body. "I remember." Her voice sounded different, warmer, more human. Grass that wasn't gray. Skies that... A blast vaporized the top of their boulder. The tallest gray shade floated closer, its mask tilting at an unnatural angle. "Abomination." It hissed through a voice that sounded like scraping metal. Vera shoved the rose back at Noah, but the damage was done. Patches of her skin now held faint hues of pink and gold. She grabbed his hand with her newly colored fingers. "Run, and don't let them take it." They burst from cover as the gray shades unleashed a volley of energy pulses. The forest blurred around them as they ran, the rose's glow leaving faint afterimages in the air. Noah spotted a crevice in a rock face ahead. "There!" They dove inside, just as another blast sealed the entrance behind them in a shower of stone. The sudden darkness was broken only by the rose's faint crimson glow and the new colors swirling beneath Vera's skin. She stared at her hands like they belonged to someone else. "What have you done to me?" Noah's laugh was shaky. "Pretty sure that's my line." Outside, the gray shades' wails echoed through the canyon, not just of anger, but of something that sounded almost like fear. The cave walls shimmered with bioluminescent fungus, casting eerie blue shadows that made Vera's new colors dance across her skin. Noah watched in fascination as she examined her hands. The rose's crimson pigment had spread up to her elbows now, swirling with faint gold undertones. "You're staring," she said without looking up. Noah cleared his throat. "Can you blame me? You're literally the most colorful thing on this planet." Vera's lips twitched, almost a smile. "That's not difficult." She tilted her wrist, watching the light play across her skin. "These hues, they feel familiar. Like a dream I'd forgotten." A distant wail echoed through the cavern, making them both tense. The gray shades were still searching. Noah carefully placed the rose back in its case. Why are they so afraid of color? Vera's expression darkened. "Cool me. I'll show you." She led him deeper into the cave system, their path illuminated by the strange fungi. After 20 minutes of winding passages, they emerged into a vast chamber, and Noah's breath caught. The walls were covered in murals. Not gray, not monochrome. Faded but unmistakable, the paintings depicted vibrant landscapes. Azure skies, emerald forests, golden fields under a brilliant sun. At the center stood figures with silver skin and rainbow-hued eyes, their arms raised toward what looked like a massive, glowing orb. This, Vera traced a painted sun with her newly colored fingertips. This was our world, before the Great Bleaching. Noah stepped closer, his boots crunching on ancient debris. What happened? A war. Her voice grew heavy. We discovered how to weaponize chroma, the essence of color, turned beauty into destruction. She pointed to a section where the murals became chaotic smears. The Council, the gray shades, saved us by draining all color from existence, made us forget it ever existed. Noah's stomach twisted. That's not saving. That's control, Vera finished. Her eyes met his, now flecked with gold. But you brought it back. A sudden vibration shook the cavern. Dust rained from the ceiling as the distant wails grew louder. They're coming, Vera whispered. Noah grabbed the rose case. Then we'd better. A section of the wall exploded inward. 3 gray shades floated through the dust, their featureless masks reflecting the mural's lost colors. The lead figure's voice grated like metal on stone. You violate the bleach decree. Vera stepped forward, her colored arms glowing in the dim light. The decree is a lie. The gray shades recoiled as if burned. Their leader raised a trembling hand toward Vera's hues. Abomination. Noah saw his chance. He yanked the rose from its case and thrust it toward the nearest mural. The effect was instantaneous. Where the petals brushed the ancient paint, the colors reactivated, blues deepening, greens brightening as if freshly painted. The gray shades shrieked, their masks cracking as the chamber filled with reborn color. Vera gasped as the hues reflected in her eyes. Noah, what have you done? He grinned, watching the colors spread across the walls like living fire. Just a little gardening. The colors spread through the cavern like wildfire, igniting centuries-old murals and explosions of sapphire, emerald, and gold. The gray shades staggered back, their silver masks fracturing under the chromatic onslaught. Cracks spiderwebbed across their smooth surfaces, revealing glimpses of something dark and formless beneath. Vera gasped as the hues reflected in her eyes, now more gold than mercury. It's beautiful. Noah watched in awe as the rose in his hand pulsed, its crimson glow intensifying. The petals had begun to unfurl, releasing a sweet fragrance that made the colors spread faster. It's not just painting the walls. It's alive. One of the gray shades let out a mechanical shriek as its mask split down the middle. Contain the aberration. Before they could react, Vera grabbed Noah's wrist. The garden? Quick! They sprinted through the transforming cavern as the gray shade's wails echoed behind them. The passages that had been dull gray now shimmered with iridescent fungi, their bioluminescence shifting through the spectrum as the color wave passed. Strange vines burst through cracks in the stone, their leaves unfurling in real time with vibrant greens and purples. Noah nearly tripped over his own feet. What garden? What's happening? Vera's voice was breathless with wonder. The first garden where Chroma was born. If the rose can awaken this cave. They burst into a circular chamber, and Noah's jaw dropped. Before them stretched rows of petrified plants, trees frozen in gray stone, flowers turned to ashen sculptures. At the center stood an enormous, withered vine, its gnarled branches twisting toward the ceiling like a skeletal hand. Vera approached the central vine with reverence. The last chroma vine, source of all color before the bleaching. Noah moved forward, the rose's glow casting ruby highlights across the dead garden. You think the rose can try? Vera urged, her voice trembling. Noah reached out and touched the rose to the petrified vine. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, a pulse of crimson light exploded from the contact point. The color raced through the dead vine like lightning, transforming stone back to living plant matter in its wake. Branches unfurled with audible cracks, buds swelled and burst open in explosions of violet and gold. Vera staggered back as the vine thrummed to life, its newly vibrant leaves brushing her cheeks and leaving streaks of color where they touched. "It remembers me," she whispered, tears of liquid silver trailing down her now rainbow-hued skin. The ground trembled as the revitalization spread outward. Petrified plants shattered their gray shells, exploding into bouquets of impossible colors. The very air seemed to vibrate with renewed energy. Then the gray shades burst into the chamber, but they were changing too. Their masks fell away in chunks, revealing not faces but swirling voids beneath. The lead creature let out a distorted scream as the garden's light touched it. No, the gray must prevail. Noah watched in horror as the creature's form flickered between solid and shadow. "Vera, what are they?" Her newly colorful eyes widened with realization. "Not protectors. Parasites. They've been feeding on our colorless world." The vine behind them shuddered, releasing a cloud of sparkling pollen that drifted toward the shrieking gray shades. Where it touched them, their shadowy forms burned with prismatic light. Vera grabbed Noah's hand as the garden awakened around them. "You didn't just bring back color. You brought back our weapon." Outside the cavern, the gray sky began to crack. The sky shattered like glass. Noah craned his neck as fissures of cerulean and gold spread across the gray expanse, revealing glimpses of a forgotten sun. The chroma vine behind them pulsed with energy, its revitalized branches stretching toward the breaking heavens as if trying to pull them down. Vera's transformation accelerated. Her silver skin now swirled with opalescent hues, her eyes twin pools of liquid rainbow. She flexed her fingers, watching colors ripple across them in awe. "It's not just me," she breathed. "The whole planet is waking up." A piercing shriek cut through the air. The lead gray shade convulsed as the garden's pollen enveloped it, its shadowy form flickering between solid and void. Where the chromatic light touched, its body smoked and dissolved into prismatic mist. Noah instinctively stepped back. "Okay, note to self, color kills shadow monsters." Vera's laugh was bright and musical, so different from her earlier iciness. "Not kills, purges." She pointed as the gray shade's mask finally crumbled away completely, revealing not a face but a swirling black hole that screamed in a dozen distorted voices. The other gray shades recoiled, their forms flickering wildly. "Contain the outbreak," their leader screeched before dissolving completely. Noah grabbed Vera's hand, now warm to the touch, and pulled her toward the cavern exit. "We need to get to higher ground." They emerged into a world reborn. The gray forest they'd fled through now pulsed with emerald life, leaves unfurling in real time as the chroma wave radiated outward. In the distance, the mountains blushed pink with dawn light that hadn't touched them in centuries. Vera stumbled to her knees, tears of liquid gold streaming down her face. "I remember the smell of rain on green grass, the taste of sunlight." A thunderous crack echoed across the valley. Noah spun toward the sound. The monolithic council spire in the distance was crumbling, its smooth gray surface spiderwebbed with vibrant fractures. "That's where they've been controlling us from," Vera said, her voice thick with emotion. "The heart of the bleaching." Noah studied the collapsing structure, then looked down at the rose in his hand, its petals now fully open, glowing like a miniature sun. An idea formed. "We need to get there," he said. Vera's rainbow eyes widened. "That's suicide. The entire gray shade order will be too busy disintegrating to stop us," Noah finished, pointing. Across the valley, Tendrils of color snaked through the air like living lightning, striking down fleeing gray shades. Wherever the chromatic energy touched, the land burst into bloom, and the shadowy figures screamed as they evaporated. Vera's expression shifted from fear to fierce determination. She touched a newly green leaf, watching color spread from her fingertips into the plant. "You're right," she said, standing tall. "It's time we return the favor." As they ran toward the dying spire, Noah noticed something extraordinary. Where Vera's feet touched the ground, flowers sprouted in her wake. Crimson, gold, violet, a living rainbow trailing behind them. The last gray world trembled as color conquered it, one bloom at a time. The council spire loomed before them, its once smooth gray surface now veined with pulsating color. Noah and Vera crouched behind a newly bloomed thicket of rainbow-hued shrubs, watching as the last gray shades fled through the spire's crumbling arches. "They're abandoning it," Noah whispered, his knuckles white around the rose's stem. The flower had grown brighter since leaving the garden, its petals now glowing with internal light. Vera's rainbow eyes narrowed. "No, they're protecting something." She pointed to the spire's apex, where a dark pulse throbbed against the colorful cracks. The bleach core. A thunderous crack split the air as another section of the spire collapsed, revealing glimpses of swirling darkness within. The ground trembled beneath them as tendrils of inky shadow lashed out from the fractures, battling against the encroaching colors. Noah swallowed hard. "That's not a machine, is it?" Vera shook her head, her multicolored hair shimmering. "It's alive, and it's starving." They moved toward the spire's base, dodging falling debris. The closer they got, the more Noah's skin prickled, like static electricity before a storm. The rose in his hand pulsed in time with his heartbeat, its glow intensifying. Inside the spire's grand hall, the air tasted metallic. The walls oozed black sludge where the colors hadn't yet reached. At the chamber's center floated a massive orb of swirling darkness, its surface occasionally flashing with sickly gray light. Vera gasped. "It's feeding." Noah followed her gaze to rows of silver pods lining the wall, each containing one of her people in suspended animation, their colorlessness being slowly drained by tendrils connecting them to the dark orb. One pod, near the front, had shattered. Noah approached and recoiled. The occupant's face was frozen in a silent scream, their silver skin stretched taut over bones, completely drained. "The council wasn't protecting us from color," Vera whispered, horror dawning across her vibrant features. "They were farming us." The bleach core pulsed violently, sensing their presence. A voice like grinding stones echoed through the chamber. "You will not take our sustenance." The remaining gray shades materialized from the shadows, their forms flickering between solid and void. But they were weaker now, smaller. Their leader pointed a trembling hand at Noah's rose. "That abomination dies first." Noah looked at Vera, then at the hundreds of pods. An idea sparked. "You said color is contagious, right?" Vera's eyes widened with understanding. She placed her hand over his on the rose's stem. Together, they raised the glowing flower high and slammed it into the spire's central control console. The explosion of light was blinding. Crimson tendrils shot through the console's veins, racing up the walls toward the pods. One by one, the containment units shattered as color flooded into the sleeping inhabitants. The gray shades shrieked as their food source was cut off, their shadowy forms dissipating like smoke in sunlight. The bleach core convulsed, its dark mass shrinking under the chromatic onslaught. Vera pulled Noah toward the exit as the spire began to collapse around them. "Run! It's going to..." The core's final scream shook the foundations as prismatic light consumed it. Outside, the last gray patches of sky shattered like glass, revealing a golden dawn that hadn't been seen in centuries. Noah's rose crumbled to dust in his hand, its work done. But where the particles fell, new flowers were already sprouting, this time from the planet itself. Vera turned her face to the sunrise, tears of liquid color streaming down her cheeks. "Welcome home," she whispered. Somewhere in the newly colorful distance, an alarm began to blare. "Human-made." Noah's stomach dropped. "That's my ship's distress beacon." Vera met his gaze, her rainbow eyes full of grim understanding. The battle for her world was over, but someone had just come looking for him. The distress beacon's shrill pulse cut through the vibrant dawn like a knife. Noah and Vera stood at the edge of a newly emerald meadow, watching as a human rescue shuttle descended through the rainbow-streaked sky. Vera's fingers, now permanently dusted with swirling colors, tightened around Noah's. "They'll quarantine you," she said quietly. "Ask questions we can't answer." Noah studied the approaching shuttle, its metallic sheen dull compared to the living colors around them. "They'll want to study this place. Exploit it." A soft rustling made them turn. Dozens of Vera's people, awakened from their pods, approached hesitantly. Their silver skin now shimmered with faint hues, their eyes wide with newborn wonder at the colorful world. An elder with cobalt-streaked hair stepped forward. "The gray shades are gone, but your people will become the new threat." The shuttle's engines roared as it landed 50 yards away, kicking up a storm of multicolored pollen. Noah made his decision. "Then we make sure they see what I saw." He cupped Vera's face, memorizing the rainbow galaxies in her eyes. "Not a resource to mine, a world to cherish." The shuttle door hissed open. Commander Lyle Hayes, Noah's former superior, stepped out in a pristine biosuit, his face hidden behind a reflective visor. Three-armed operatives fanned out behind him. "Mercer!" Hayes' voice crackled through his helmet speakers. "Thank God you're alive. What the hell happened to this planet?" Noah glanced at Vera, then at the field of flowers blooming spontaneously around their feet. A second chance. Hayes took a hesitant step forward, his boots crushing a cluster of golden blossoms. The moment they died, the entire field pulsed angrily, the colors deepening to warning shades of crimson and violet. Vera's people gasped in unison. "It's alive," the elder whispered. "The planet remembers." Hayes froze as the ground trembled beneath him. "Mercer, what is this?" Noah crossed his arms. "A lesson. This world fought a war against exploitation once. It won't hesitate to do it again." As if to prove his point, vines erupted from the soil, wrapping gently but firmly around Hayes' ankles. The commander yelped as his biosuit's systems blared warnings. The flowers were emitting energy signatures his scanners couldn't classify. Vera stepped forward, her body radiating soft light. "Tell your people this. We'll share our world, but never again will we be controlled." The vines released Hayes, pushing him back toward his shuttle. His operatives raised their weapons, but the elder simply smiled and snapped his fingers. Every gun barrel blossomed with living flowers, rendering them useless. Hayes stumbled back, his bravado gone. "This isn't over, Mercer." "Oh, it's just beginning," Noah said, plucking a fresh crimson rose from a nearby bush. This one born from the planet itself. He tossed it to Hayes. "Take that back to Earth. See what happens." As the shuttle lifted off, Vera's people erupted in cheers, a sound full of color and life that hadn't been heard in centuries. The sky itself seemed to celebrate, swirling in impossible prismatic patterns. Noah turned to Vera as the first true sunrise in generations painted them both in gold. "So what now?" She kissed him, her lips tasting like sunlight and rainbows. "Now we teach our world to remember everything it lost." High above, unnoticed by the celebrating crowd, the departing shuttle's cargo hold began to glow. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and, as always, keep the last light burning.